Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Targran with bringing another episode of Lore League of Legends to you. We've decided to stick to the Yordles until we can cover all of them, and we've only 4 remaining: Lulu, Vhagar, Corki, and Ziggs. In this particular episode, we'll focus on the latter ones, connected by their love for explosions: Corki, the daring bombardier, and Ziggs, the hexplosive expert. Enjoy. Heimerdinger's decision to leave the Bandle City and head to Piltover, the City of Progress, was not a popular one. It was not easy for himself either. He had to abandon everything he had and look for a new way of life on the unknown lands. Surprisingly, he'd been warmly welcomed by the people of Piltover and has made his home in the city. He quickly embraced science not only as a profession, but as a way of life as well. Quickly, Heimerdinger, together with his Yordle team, have made several contributions to the known field of techmetallurgy. Scientists of Piltover have been amazed by the potential hidden within those small people, and agreed that every Yordle willing to move to the City of Progress would be more than welcome, and many citizens of Bandle City have accepted the offer. Corki was one of those Yordles. He had no bigger goal in coming to the city, but he soon found himself in the role of a test pilot for many vehicles that the Yordle Academy had been constructing. He did not fear driving all sorts of weird constructions. He was in fact rather excited by the concept. What earned him the most fame was test piloting the original design of the Rolfcopter, the reconnaissance copter that he still uses to this day, in a slightly modified version. Upon his recommendations, the Rolfcopters had become a backbone of the Bandle City Expeditionary Force, and Corki himself was sent to serve in the forces due to his unmatched experience with using the machine. He'd been given his own squadron, the Scheming Yipsnakes. Their job was to survey the landscape of Valoran and report anything unusual. They were not, however, defenseless. The arsenal of an average copter allowed the Yipsnakes to be a deadly force up in the skies of Valoran. They were renowned for staying cool under enemy fire and many exhibitions of bravery at the edge of madness. On a battlefield, they always seem suicidal, and yet time after time they're successful with every stunt they try to perform. Corki, just like the rest of his squadron, thrives on danger. There's no mission that the Screaming Yipsnakes will refuse. Reconnaissance behind enemy lines, not a problem. Gathering intelligence in the middle of enemy territory, consider it done. Delivering messages through a hot zone, piece of cake. And a good dogfight with bullets and rockets filling the air, scratching the outer shell of the copter? Well, it's called Monday in Corki's dictionary. Over his years of service, Corki has improved his machine on every occasion. Sometimes there were just minor improvements to improve how the copter looked, so it would be more recognizable from the ground. Sometimes Corki would add additional weapons or improve the engine's performance. His machine was one of its kind, and he would never change it for anything else. He poured his heart into this copter, and it was now like a close friend. With the creation of the League, however, open hostilities have ceased as part of the agreement. With them gone, there was no need to maintain a full squadron of reconnaissance pilots. It was not a cheap unit, and in current times of peace it would be useless. There were no enemy lines anymore, there was no enemy territory to be surveyed. The Screaming Yipsnakes had been dissolved. Some of them sent into other branches of the Bandle City military. Others were sent for retirement. Corki was forced into retirement, and it was the worst thing that could happen to him. There was no reason to get up from bed every morning. He had no purpose in life anymore. He tried a different path: sightseeing flights, stunt flying, or canyon running. It was good, but it was not as exciting as any day with the Yipsnakes. He missed the sound of explosions, refreshing smell of the gunpowder. He needed it, and it was almost like an addiction to the adrenaline of the fight. It was not a surprise to anyone that when the League of Legends started looking for champions, Corki was one of the first who answered to the summoner's call. He was eager to test his skills against the best of the best. Ziggs had been born amongst Yordles of the Bandle City, and like many of his kin, he had a huge talent for tinkering. Since his earliest days, he tried to play around with technological devices that he could find. He had one serious problem though. Ziggs was hyperactive and chaotic. He could not focus on one thing. He would instead try to do 8 at the same time in 2 different places. This was rather uncommon amongst Yordles, especially those dealing with science. Ziggs always aspired to be a revered inventor, and he tried his best to prove everyone that he was better than others. He'd worked on many interesting projects of his own, but also tried to improve already existing ones. He had a bright open mind full of ideas. Unfortunately, most of the experiments had finished with a loud boom and pieces of machinery flying all over his laboratory. It's hard to tell which is more common to Ziggs: discovering something unprecedented, or completely rebuilding his workshop. It's probably the latter one. Word of Ziggs' experiments have reached the Yordle Academy of Piltover. and they were highly interested in viewing the young Yordle's inventions. He'd been invited into the academy where he presented his craft to the most revered inventors amongst all Yordles. Ziggs was quite nervous, but he would never skip such an opportunity. He left Bandle City, heading straight for Piltover with his newest invention, a powerful Hextech engine. Ziggs had set up his presentation, awaiting for the arrival of everyone who was to watch it. Everything seemed to be perfect. It did not change as he started his presentation. The way he spoke was chaotic, but scientists seemed intrigued by the young man. Before he could finish the presentation, however, the engine overheated, causing a massive explosion. It crumbled one of the academy walls and left the presentation room almost ruined. Ziggs left the academy without a word, ashamed. He started preparing himself to return to Bandle City. A night before he was meant to leave, however, a group of Zornites snuck into the academy and kidnapped many of the professors, disappearing without trace, almost like they found some easy way in. At first, the military could barely follow the kidnappers' trail, but it was not entirely lost. They managed to finally track the Zornites, but weapons they were equipped with could not do no harm to the walls of the old Zornite prison. They would have to perform an all-out assault on the city to free their scientists. Ziggs spent all the time in Piltover. Since he heard of the kidnapping, he was determined to help his Yordle brothers. He felt guilty for the whole situation. He started working on a new experiment, when a thought came to him. What if he could harness his gift of making everything around him explode? What if he was meant to make something which was meant to explode? That surely had to work, right? And it did in fact work. Soon after, Ziggs had created his first line of powerful bombs that he dubbed Hexplosives. To test them in a real situation, he travelled to the prison of Zorn and snuck into its compound. He picked the largest bomb he had and tossed it at the fortified wall, watching in awe as it collapsed. He could not waste any time though. Ziggs rushed for the cell where the Yordle scientists had been held and blew the doors open, leading the professors of the Yordle Academy to the safety of Piltover. The humbled professors had recognised Ziggs with a place at the academy and a title created especially for him, the Dean of Demolitions. He was, however, suggesting that perhaps the League of Legends and its Fields of Justice would be a better testing ground for Hexplosives than any place close to Piltover. Ziggs eagerly accepted the proposal, eager to show off his newest children in front of the whole world. And that's all we prepared for you this time around. Let us know if you liked this video by pressing that like button, leaving your feedback in the comment section below and sharing this video around. It really helps us out a lot. And as always, I'll see you next time.